morning somewhere out there in the world. This is, of course, the phenomenal podcast of The Face of a Hero show with none other than the hostess with the mostest, EVE, Eve Gomez, as the full name I am born with. So it is great to be here with you all with an amazing guest. And we brought him once before. And we're bringing him back because there's so many things happening, especially in this year of 2024. And this is the last show of 2024. We thank all of the audience, everyone that has shared these podcasts with others, with your audience. I so appreciate you. And so many things have happened in this year, 2024, especially those that are servants, that are leaders in the community, that are paving the way for new generations to come. And of course, this powerhouse, this man is the face of a hero because he has gone all over the country and other parts of the world. I've known him for quite some time. I'm 2011, 2012. I think I lost count after 10 years. You tend to lose count. And so I wanted to bring him back so that he can share his story. And it's a powerful story. Hopefully we can get a lot in these next 30 minutes, and you will get to hear how he's making a difference. And he's also, as we say, our unsung heroes, those that are paving the way, those that are making a difference, that are shaking and baking it and are doing it. They're not just talking the talk, but they're walking the walk. And of course, many people hear first responders, that term first responders, they're not always first responders like what we think: an EMT, a doctor, a nurse, a fireman, a police officer. Well, guess what? I consider myself a first responder, and so is this gentleman that I'm bringing up. I want to bring him up now, and without further ado, he is an amazing face of a hero. Welcome, Robert, Dr. Robert Renteria. Buenos días, buenas tardes. Welcome.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, Eve Gomez. How are you?
Yes, I am blessed and just doing a lot for our people. And I see that you are also moving it and shaking it and baking it. We're not just talking the talk, right?
We're doing God's work, Eve.
Amen. And his work, for whom much is given, much is required, and there's never going to be an ending to it. For you are a servant of God doing things in the community. But I know you, but our audience does not. So Robert Renteria, you are originally from where?
I grew up in the barrio of East LA, California.
Orale.
Orale.
Where there's a lot of vatos over there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you grew up there, but where were you born in California?
Yeah, I was born in East LA. My
LA.
parents were from Jalisco, but I was born in LA.
Okay, so you're more American. But then again, LA, you are like right across the street and you're in Mexico, pretty much, right?
Yeah, right off the border.
Right out of the border, right there. So Robert, I know that you have a very interesting story. Some probably that are watching can probably relate to it, or parts of your life they can say, hey, that sounds like me. Hey, I guess I'm not the only one. So tell us a bit about, I know we don't have a lot of time, but since you are a professional speaker, you have been out there in different platforms sharing your story to all people of walks of life, not only to the youth, but to the adults as well. Share us some of your story. You grew up in East LA. What happened there?
Well, my mother got married and she didn't know my father was doing drugs because my grandparents did her an injustice by raising her believing in blue skies and butterflies, and life doesn't work that way. My father abandoned the family when we were 3 years old, and the only legacy he left us was a pile of bills and a bunch of empty bottles of booze in the trash can. But my mama worked 2, 3 jobs so that my sister and I did not become part of a system. At the age of 6, I had a terrible accident. I almost died. I had to go to school for the physically disabled and the mentally challenged. And then at 9 years old, my mother remarries and the nightmare starts all over again. She marries an abusive drunk. And then I went from one dysfunctional family to another, and I found gangs. And then I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And then as a teenager, my father died in a halfway house on Skid Row in Los Angeles, where the homeless people live. He died of heroin and alcohol. I resolved to making better life choices after I made a bad drug deal that almost lost my life. I joined the military, and that was the best decision of my life. It changed my life. It made me a man, and it taught me about a word called character. character is not just doing what's right when somebody's watching you. He was doing the right thing when nobody's watching.
Right,
So
right.
so after I honorably served our country for over 7 years as a non-commissioned officer, I came to Chicago with $200 in a duffel bag, and I slept on my friend's floor in a small apartment in Lisle. And I got a job in the commercial laundromat industry, selling washers and dryers to laundromats. And I worked hard every day, every holiday, every weekend. I didn't see my mom
Mm,
for 5 years, but I got recruited in year number 6, and I became vice president of a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange.
wow.
So
That's
yeah, after I climbed the broken ladder of corporate America, I started my own business, and I was compelled to write a book to help some kids. And when the book came out, I thought I was just going to have bragging rights. But what happened was, God had another plan for me. My life did a 180, and now I went from being an author to a messenger.
no, let's stop right there. Let me take you back to your childhood. You said you did a bad drug deal. Were
Right.
you doing the drugs? Were you dealing with drugs or both?
Well, a little both, and really the drug dealing was not because I wanted to be a drug dealer, but girls are really expensive, and that was one way to make
Yeah.
money. So that's why I was selling the drugs, right? Getting a good job back then without an education was very difficult at best. And so, yeah, I mean, I delivered some drugs to some guy's apartment, and he took a knife and he cut it through the bag. It was cocaine, and then he reached out into the side of the cushion of the couch. I thought he was going to get a big wad of money, but he pulled out a gun and he
Mm,
pointed at my head. He said, "Say good night." He pulled the trigger twice, but the grace of God, it was a misfire. So I land up tackling the guy to the floor, and I go running out the side door and down the street, screaming, "God, if you let me live, I'll sin no more." And God gave me a second chance, and I've never looked back since.
wow, that's awesome. Because, sometimes we tend to do things because of the way of the lifestyle we were living or how we were raised or lacking having a father figure or lacking funding or, finances or all of the above. We end up making wrong choices, right? Were you a rebellious child when you were growing up, teenager?
No, you know what? I wasn't a malicious kid. I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Hmm.
And it's like our abuelitos say, "You show me your friends, I tell you who you are." So
Right.
I was just running around with the wrong kind of people. So
Wow.
I was able to find redemption, and God put me in another space, and where I'm working with kids worldwide now.
Wow. So you have a lot of what I would call spiritual kids. Do you have any biological children?
Eve, I have approximately 3.5 million kids around the world now. I don't
Right.
have biological children, but all these kids are our kids.
But God, let me tell you, but God, as we say, has given you a lot of spiritual children, more than you can count, right?
Amen. Yes.
Everything happens for a reason. Why we don't have this, why we have that. Everything happens for a reason. Now, I'm going to take you back to your childhood because, see, I love sharing testimonies because people need to start working on their faith. And I'm hearing that part of your life had to do with nothing but God and how He has saved you from that one trigger, that one opportunity it missed, so it wasn't for you. Now taking you back to childhood, something happened as a child with you and your health, your body. What happened?
Well, I was in a freak accident at a carnival, and I came out of the ride. It was called the Octopus, and they said that I gone back in. I must have dropped something. I don't remember. And I came out. They had started the ride, and it swung around, hit me on the right side of the head, and it flung me out some 50 feet and landing on the ground with a compound fracture. I was bleeding profusely, and it was pandemonium, chaos. People were screaming, and there was blood everywhere. I took about 15 minutes for the ambulance came to get me. They took me to a hospital that was not equipped to take care of me. So they took me to a second hospital, and by the chance of a miracle, there was a doctor there performing brain surgery on someone else. They rushed him in, and I slipped into a coma. Um, I was down for 4 days. When I woke up, I was tied in a barrage of tubes and wires, and my mother was looking over me, crying, saying, "God, I knew God would not take my only son." But I needed to get rehabilitated. So from there, I went to a school for the physically disabled and mentally challenged.
They say something about you that you weren't going to able to do certain things.
Yeah, they said that I was never going to be able to walk, talk, or read or write. I mean, I was going to be a vegetable, but it was, like the doctor said, it was one in a million. And I was blessed that he put that blessing on my body and he healed me, and I was able to go on and live a normal, productive life.
Wow. But God, but God,
Amen.
again, grace. the grace and the favor of God has been bestowed upon you, and I have been seeing it. And folks, you know, Robert and I have gone way back, and this is this is the cause, not the reason, the cause. As you see, this amazing book right here was the reason how Robert and I connected, and I'm thankful to how we were all connected. I think it was through Robert Renteria. I mean, you are Robert Torres, wasn't that not? Is that how? And Elizabeth, was that how it all happened? I'm trying.
No,
It's been kind of cloudy how it all happened.
it
Was
was
it
way before.
Facebook?
It was way before that. You somehow got a hold of a lady that I was working with named Cheryl, and Cheryl made the connection. That's how we met.
Yes,
And
yes.
and then,
Okay, it's a little fuzzy. Yes,
yeah.
thank you.
So we go back to about 2010.
Yes, because we were just initiating our radio show, Nuestra Comunidad in WI.
Right.
And then, yes, that's how we connected because I was interested in what I saw. And you're right. So, Cheryl was our connection that was part of your organization years ago.
Yes.
And you showed me this book, and we talked. We've talked for hours on and off.
Yes.
Initially, we talked about this book, and I said, "Hey, do you have it in Spanish?" And you said, "Hey, I need to edit it or something like that. Go edit it."
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we got into Spanish, as you know, and then if you got a minute, I'd like to just walk the audience through what we have to offer our
Yes,
kids.
yes. So moving forward, he's got a lot of children that he's touched, he's impacted, not only children, but young adults, because everybody goes through things, right? And part of his story, others can resonate. Others can say, wow, I went through that too. So how did you manage to move from here to there? Right? I'm sure that a lot of our young adults or children, students have asked you questions because they may have already gone through some of that or in the middle of that, right? So go for it.
Okay, well, the book From the Barrio to the Boardroom, the one you just share everybody, that book right there is for middle schools and high school kids and people older than us. So when the book first came out, I met with Chicago Public Schools and we created a curriculum for the book that addresses critical thinking, conflict resolution, and social emotional learning. And that curriculum is donated at no cost to all schools, not just in Illinois or Indiana, but across the country and around the world. So then, yes, we did put the book into Spanish the following year. And then we got a meeting with RFB&D, Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic, and they launched a CD that went nationally that helps kids that are visually impaired have reading disabilities, and that impacts about 237,000 kids across the United States. So I wanted to get to the younger kids because of the gang recruitment happens in the elementary schools. So we went back and we let released a graphic novel called Mi Barrio, My Barrio, My Hood. And that graphic novel was voted the best graphic novel in Latin America, Spain, the United States of America for addressing youth issues. So that book is third grade and up. And I wanted to go back, and I'm self-funding. I'm trying to create teaching tools for our kids, and we release an activity coloring book. This one here called Little Barrio. So over the course of the last, now it's been almost 18 years, we have developed a comprehensive, bilingual, non-generic, culturally relevant book series and program that resonates with the youth and promotes academic achievement. Again, both curriculums, a faith-inspired curriculum that was created to get kids in the Bible study to lead them to Christ, so our kids can see the promised land, is donated at no cost. And the curriculum for the middle school and high school kids is also donated at no cost. I have personally donated approximately 40,000 books across the United States and around the world. And now those seeds have been planted. And now we're partnering with people all over the country as we speak and around the world.
Wow, that is awesome, and I applaud you because I know it hasn't been easy. I know that we have challenges. COVID hit, and there goes the finances, right? And you fund a lot of this, don't you? I mean, you've paid for this curriculum. Am I correct?
Yeah, I self-funded the entire project, about $400,000 all in from year to date when we first started.
Wow. And that's because you are driven by your past to say others should not have to go through this. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, 100%. I want to teach people that the greater the struggle, the greater the victory, that your pain, my pain, our pain is not in vain. And that these are tools that give people a way out of no way. So that these books are to give people hope at the end of the day, and to understand that the greater the struggle, the greater the victory.
That's right. You're absolutely correct. And so your life hasn't been a silver platter. Your life hasn't been here, mijo. Is everything you need. I mean, you went hungry. It was just you and your mom, right? Tú y tu mamá.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a kid, there was a time we locked out of our house because we couldn't pay rent and we were homeless for a while. I slept in the back seat of cars that were at the park. You know, it's not my story necessarily. It's all of our story. We've all been through some tough times. So I believe that this book is going to help to continue to change lives around the world. And it's all going to happen through partnerships, like partnering with you as an example, or recently partnering with the World Boxing Council, who's in 176 countries. I just received an award the other day from the MMA, and they've got like 85 countries. I'm talking to One Nation Under God, which is the ministries, along with the Awana churches, and that's 100 countries. So this has been ordained, it's been blessed, and I've went, like I said before, I went from being an author to a messenger.
Amen. I'm so glad that you are following a calling, and now you know that it was always a calling, because we don't always know. We just serve because of our past, and we're making a difference. And it's more than that, it's bigger than that. It is actually a calling. God allows us to go through things so that we can go and help someone else out to avoid them going through the things that we did. So I commend you for that,
Well,
Robert.
thank
And
you. I
it's just,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
And if there's anything, I always have mis puertas siempre están abiertas. My doors are always open to help with the collaborations or what have you, because it's team effort. It's not one person that can do everything. And so, to
No.
your team, to Fres, shout out to Fres, Okendo, shout out to Robert Torres, shout out to Elizabeth, shout out to Eddie Torres. I see that you and Eddie are doing great things. Tell us a little bit about that, if you can share some things.
Well, yeah, what happened is this end of first quarter, we're going to be releasing our audio book from the audio to the boardroom. And Eddie Torres is in his studio is the one that's helping me with that. And just recently, we've signed on with Intrigue Film, which is a faith-based film production company. And we're going to start doing what we need to do going forward to get it lined up for 2026 production from the Barrio movie. And what's nice about Intrigue Films is, as I said, it's a faith-based film company, and they're saying that Barrio will be the first mission movie in film in the faith space. So I'm excited about that.
Exciting. Yes. Wow, that is exciting. I'm looking forward to it. You need an extra Latina character? Hey, I don't know. I'm just, I was just saying, if
We'll,
that is
we'll
the
find
Lord's
we'll find
will,
a spot. We'll find a spot for you. We'll find a spot.
claro que sí. Voiceover. Hey, you don't need to see me.
Yeah.
You already know what
Yeah.
I look like.
All of this is done through partners. As an example, Papa John's Pizza has been a partner with us for the last. This will go in 7 years, and
Yeah, I
what
was
they
just gonna
what,
say. It's
yeah,
been a while.
at all our events, they come out, they feed the community, they give book bags, gift bags, supplies for the kids, more Barrio books. Last year we fed over 10,000 families, and this year is about the same 10,000 families we fed through gift cards. Papa John's has been a tremendous partner for us. And what they've done also to help the community in Illinois and Northwest Indiana is you can get 30% off of your pizzas if you put in the code Barrio30. Barrio30 gets you 30% off, and that's good with no limit. See, if you can buy as much as you want and get 30% off.
Wow, that's Barrio what?
30, number three and the number zero.
And you
30.
get 30% off.
Right.
30% discounts. You can't forget it. It's Barrio, Barrio, number 30. Now, if you're having a party, 30% off is a great deal.
It's a fabulous deal. Fabulous.
Shout out to Papa John's. Yes. And they are in Northwest Indiana, folks. They are in Illinois. I don't know if they're going to actually grow even farther, but hey, that's a great partnership. And so I love to collaborate with companies from the Barrio to the Boardroom nonprofit to anyone else, because it's all about how can we make that change for someone else, paving the way for our youth, because they are lost. They're doing the things that they shouldn't. We've all been there, but I mean, I am thankful that I'm not to a place where could say, well, I went to jail. I mean, I've met so many kids, and I'm sure you have too, Robert, that have been to jail, that have been there, right?
Absolutely. A lot of people don't know this, but the Barrio books are in all the Illinois state prisons. We're in many youth detention centers and also the jails. Most recently,
Yep.
DuPage County put the books. Sheriff Mendrick, who has the
And
lowest recidivism rate, I'm sorry, in the entire country, and he's using the
mm,
Barrio books. And it's nice what he's doing also is he's polling the inmates, asking the inmates which one of these inmates want the books for their spouses and their kids on the outside. So he's doing that as we speak. So
wow.
we have a
It's
good partnership
also,
with him.
we're going to add one more place, Lake County Juvenile Detention Center in Crown Point, Indiana. Your books also made it there because I went in and started teaching the curriculum with our youth. So those books stayed in their library. So it
Not
gives them
nice.
something to read, something to go over, and just let things ponder, right? And so I got to speak to these young men saying, why do I do this? Why should I do that? We got to carry. Miss Eve, you just don't know. In the neighborhood where I am at, where I am from, if I don't carry, somebody's going to shoot me. It's like, wow, another child. I'm sure you heard these stories, Robert. Another child. He says, I won't live to get to be 19. Oh my gosh. Don't think like that. We got to speak life over our children, people.
Yeah, we have children, teenagers, and adults walking around lost alone within a culture of darkness, and we need to do something about it. So these books teach our kids that gang banging and violence is not a lifestyle, but a death style, and the ultimate weapon is not a loaded gun, but an educated mind.
That's right. We have to educate our children, but we have to teach them, Robert, how to think for themselves and not let somebody run their life like they tried with you and have them dealing and wheeling and then get caught and then get thrown in the slammer. And the worst part of it is that these kids won't talk, they won't turn them in for fear.
Well, the books are crafted around with the curriculum about critical thinking, right? So we have a fractured educational system where they're teaching the kids to test, not teaching them to learn. And I don't know if you realize this, but in 2018, they took 2.5 billion with a B, 2.5 billion dollars away from after school programs and counselors. So there's a dire need for programming. So again, the academic curriculum is donated to schools at no cost. The faith inspired curriculum is donated at no cost to all ministries and all the churches. So please reach out to me, and I'm going to give you an email if you don't mind. It's
No, not at
Robert at fromthebarrio.net, and the website is www.fromthebarrio.com.
all.
And
Yep,
for
it's
those
on the
who want,
screen. Say your email address again, please.
my email is Robert at fromthebarrio.net, and the website is www.fromthebarrio.com. And if anybody out there wants to reach me directly, don't be shy. Call me, please, at 312-933-5619.
Okay, so it's contact him on via email. You see it on the bottom of the screen. That is the website from the barrio to barrio.com. Look, we're looking for donations too. It is a nonprofit 501c3, guys. And so if it's touched your heart and you have children, you're an educator, donate, give back, just as he's giving back to the community by being out there, doing these gatherings with the youth, helping them change their mind, build a better structure, to feel that they're not alone, to feel that they are loved, because we become their spiritual parents because they don't have that kind of parent that is going to inspire them, motivate them, or even believe in them for that matter. Just like some educators don't believe in some of these kids, and we are not part of the problem. I mean, part of the solution. We become part of the problem when we do that to our kids. So his email address is Robert at from the barrio. That's two R's, folks. Barrio.net, or you can contact him at 312-933-5619. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I'd like to share with you, Eve, additionally, just a quick story. I was at a school talking to eighth graders, and usually what happens is they read the book, they use a curriculum, they bring me in after to give a motivational speech, Q&A, pictures. And this girl came up to me at the end and she goes, Mr. Renteria, I really loved your book. And I said, thank you. She goes, I want you to know that I was going to kill myself until I read your book. That's an eighth grader. And then another one in a college where I was talking about 120 young people in taking the juvenile justice course, and they're using my book in that class. And at the end, same routine. I went and gave a speech. They came to talk to me one on one. And the girl at the end, a beautiful Latina girl, her name was Gabriela, and she says, "I have a question for you." And I said, "What's that?" She goes, "How did you forgive your stepfather?" Because I was abused as a child. And I said, well, the greatest gift you give anybody in life is forgiveness. But why do you ask? She goes, I can't forgive my mother. And I said, why not? And then she starts to shake and she starts to cry. So I pull her in. I said, Mia, what's wrong, baby girl? She goes, I can't forgive my mother because she knows my stepfather has been molesting me since I was in the fifth grade. And I said to her, have you ever told anybody? And she said, no. And I said, why not? Because I was afraid he'd do it to my little sister. So
Mm,
needless to say, I reported that family and this
good,
young lady and her little sister now living with their grandparents, with their abuelos. But
good.
this is open Pandora's box, if you want to say, because Latinos don't usually do their laundry in public. And I laid myself out there naked for the world to see to serve a higher purpose. So these people are connected at a very personal and deep level, and they're telling me their story. And as Oprah Winfrey said one time, tell your story so we could all be healed. And then
That's
we're
right.
healing people, we're saving people,
That's
we're,
right.
and we're changing lives. It's a miracle in real time, Eve. There's no other way to explain it.
You're absolutely right. And that's why we do what we do. And so today, my special guest, the face of a hero, Dr. Robert Renteria, and he has the book in English and in Spanish. I am blessed to say that it is in Spanish. Está en español este libro because we have families that need to read this book on how to help their child. Some parents don't know, Robert, and you have a heart because of what happened to you starting from a child and the type of life you had to live, you and your mom, which instead of you saying I want to stay there, you probably wouldn't be talking to me. You probably would be 6 feet under, and you wouldn't be doing what God's purpose in your life were to be. But you made that choice. See, life is about choices, folks. For every choice we make, there's a consequence that follows, and we have to educate parents now. It's sad, but we do because kids are having kids. So we have to educate the parents to step up to the plate, to be part of the solution, to be part of that educational triangle. And this is something that I need to really protect. It's a triangle pack. The child is who's on top because we have to raise them to rise up. Educators, family on the other side. And so it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to save a child, people. And I'm thankful
Yep.
that some of our juvenile detention centers are now bringing outside resources because let me tell you, Robert, years ago, they would not allow a third party, a nonprofit to come in to help these kids. These kids weren't even going to school. They were just locked up. That's to me a waste of breath, a waste of brain. And these are children that are brilliant. They are awesome. They are amazing, but no one's tapped into what they have inside. Instead, they're calling them names. They're speaking death over them. They say they are no good. They're amount to nothing. They will never have. They're not smart enough. They're ugly. They're fat. These are all labels that we are removing. Robert and I and many others that are out there are removing the labels from these children when we start showing them that there is genuine love, genuine care from someone like Robert, from his team, that they show that they are truly genuine and they care for them. Because that's what we have to continue to show as community leaders, that we are genuine and that we care. Because these kids, as you said, you were one of them looking for love in all the wrong places. Some look for love in drugs, some look for love in alcohol, some look for love in gangs. And unfortunately, some of our kids are now being trafficked. They are starting at young and getting them into their 20s and 30s, and they're still being trafficked. I'm not talking about labor traffic. I'm also talking about sex traffic. So, any last minute, on the last minute we have, Robert, this has been great. I'm going to bring you back because I can't wait to hear the greatest things going to be happening mid-year in 2025. A lot of great things are already in the plan, right, for 2025?
Absolutely. I want the audience to know that I am available to come out to speak to classrooms, to schools, commencement speeches, conferences. You know, in Illinois, we did the largest Latino graduation in the history of Illinois, like in 2015. It was like 700 kids graduated, Latino kids. So I want to be a viable resource. So please reach out.
Wonderful. And here is his contact information one more time. And of course, he has his website, and the website, you're seeing it on the bottom of the screen as well, fromthebarrio.com. Purchase his books, get them ordered into your school, into your church, into your youth group, and make a difference. Be part of the solution and don't be that bystander that just watches films and watch something happen, because you're just as guilty when you don't do anything. So when you see something, do something, but even more so with, some people say, see something, I mean, do something. If you see something, you say something, but then you do something. Don't just say it. Don't just stand there. Robert, you did the right thing. You probably, some people may be saying, well, why did you report that mom? You know, I've been in juvie, I've been in the courts, and I have seen where the parents don't believe their daughter that their boyfriend or their stepfather or father has been molesting them. And what happens? That child gets removed. And the mom's still with the dude. Come on, people. Don't be stuck
Right.
on stupid, all right? This is part of the real talk because Eve's going to always keep it real. And I've seen it, and it saddens me when I see kids in court with shackles and handcuffs, not just handcuffs, shackles. I'm like, wow, why? This does not need to happen. And it's all because of us adults. We're the ones putting them in there because we're not caring enough, right? One last thing, another message you want to bring it out to our community right now, and then we got to get going, but we're going to bring you back again in 2025.
At the end of the day, what I'm watching and I'm learning is that these books and this program are teaching our kids how to make a way out of no way, Eve. So, I'm all about lifting our kids up so they too could spread their wings and fly like the angels God intended them to be.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for that message. Thank you for coming on and being the face of the hero on this podcast. We look forward to greater things for 2025 and have a happy new year.
You too, Eve. Thank you
We're
so
going
much
to
for bringing me
continue.
on. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
2025. It's here. It's here
Let's do it.
already.
Let's do it.
2025. All right. With that, don't go anywhere, Robert. I'll be back with you. And thank you for coming on the face of the hero here on this new year, 2020.
God bless. Thank you.
Yes, 2025. The end has happened. The new year is here. What are we doing to make a difference? How are we changing? One child at a time. How are we doing it? What are you doing about it? Are you just talking about it? Or are you doing something about it? With that, I'm going to get going, folks. Thanks for joining me here live on the Face of a Hero show. Peace to you. Have a wonderful 2025. With that, see you later. Till next time, next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard. Take care.